destroying everything. Listen now, when things are bad, sometimes we can think, okay, God's with me, it's just bad. But when things go from bad to worse, then if we're not careful, we'll think, because it went from bad to worse, we'll think that God has abandoned us. But just because things go from bad to worse does not mean that God is gone. Now, it may mean that God's trying to get our attention, but it don't mean that God is gone. And we've got to understand that, because, listen, what is going on with me in my life right now does not dictate the presence of God. Now, I may try to make it, but it don't dictate the presence of God. What is going on in my life right now does not dictate whether God is there or not. Well, Pastor, if God was there, it wouldn't be so bad. That's not true. That's not true. God never left Job, and it got really bad. Amen? But God never left Job. So when things go from bad to worse to even worse, then many times we feel like God has abandoned us. Now, that's how they felt. Back to the reading. Psalm 137 is a song of bitter sorrow sung by the Israelites during the Babylonian captivity. How does Psalm 137:1 describe the feelings of the Israelites? And here's how the psalm begins. For they sat by the rivers of Babylon, and they wept as they thought of Zion. Have you ever done that? Have you ever thought about how things used to be? Have you ever been so distraught about how things are that all you can do is not think about what things can be? Don't let me get preaching in here now. Don't think about how things can be, but think about how things used to be. We spin our wheels by thinking about how things used to be when we ought to be spinning our wheels to think about how things can be. So in their despair, they write this psalm, and it says they sat by the rivers of Babylon and they wept as they thought of Zion. They sat by the rivers of Babylon and they wept as they thought about how things used to be. When you think about how things used to be, think about the good things. But just let them push you to what God can do. Not that God can't do. Let it push you into what God can do. Back to the reading. Zion is another name for Jerusalem. During these circumstances, God gives Ezekiel a vision of a future for the destroyed Jerusalem. Listen now, just because something's broken don't mean God can't fix it.